Hello and welcome to Halcyon Blink. In this episode I'm going to be talking about a game that, unless you were an avid PS1 player back in the day and a massive Star Wars fan, you probably let pass you by. Star Wars Masters of the Teras Kasi, I hope I got that right, was an attempt by LucasArts to try and make a fighting game based around the Star Wars universe. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's inherently unfair, considering once again some of the characters have force powers, others don't. Some of them have guns, some of them don't. But don't worry, you don't have characters like C-3PO rocking up and throwing down with Darth Vader. What you have is actually a very clever combat system that enables characters with ranged attacks to take on those with powers. So my recollection of the game, because it's been a long time since I played this game, we're talking easily 15 years, is that the characters with the powers were actually the more difficult to pull off because, especially someone like Darth Vader, who is a character that you unlock later on in the game, actually isn't that fun to play as because as a boss, he can utilise all the attacks in tandem really easily. However, as a player, his attacks just seem to lack any real impact and he wasn't a very satisfying player to use. However, characters like Luke Skywalker, there was a move where he would throw his lightsaber and effectively end the fight. Basically, he'd force throw his lightsaber and it would multiply hit the character. And in Masters of the Teras Kasi, it was one of the earliest fighting games that I certainly remember that had ring outs. So you kick the person out of the ring, they fall out and they die. I believe at least Zero Divide had a similar mechanic in some of its levels, but not all of them. So what do I think is worth talking about in this game? Well, the fact is the graphics weren't bad for the time. The character roster was diverse enough to give you multiple avenues of fighting. I also believe that the combat mechanics were actually pretty interesting. So the move that I've just described there was effectively you had to roll your thumb across the pad and press X, and it would launch the attack. Now you can do a half version of this for half the power because you had a power bar to be able to use special abilities such as, I remember one of the cheapest ones, I think, I hope I'm remembering this right, is Boba Fett. He used to have a rocket launcher that would launch rockets, and to be able to dodge all of these rockets was possible, but it was bloody difficult. And it was another one of these chain moves that just goes bang, 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 bang. And the idea was that it wouldn't do a ton of damage. I mean, it would, but that wasn't the primary reason why you used it. You tried to use it when they were close to the edge of the ring to be able to knock them out of it. Now, there were a wide array of maps, reasonable ones. Like I said, all of them had ring outs, even though Dagobah was kind of weird in that there was a ring out, sure, but literally they fell 3 feet and were knocked out. Interesting. But nevertheless, the characters were well designed, the levels were well designed, the music was thematic because they just ripped it straight from the Star Wars films themselves. The creative use of combinations was there, but the difficulty with this game was that you couldn't really chain attacks together. That's where I think the game really fell down when comparative to, say, Tekken or Street Fighter or whatever the case may be. So I would gauge this game by saying, look, if you still have your original PS1 knocking about or an emulator that can handle it, this game is definitely worth checking out if you've never played a fighting game that's so thematic with a known universe.
Round 2, fight! Knockout. You win.
Easier than shooting womp rats back home.
So what I mean by that is that they didn't design these characters from the ground up to be fighting characters. What you had is a series of characters that were adapted from the universe and taken into the world of a fighting game, and they did this actually pretty well. The only kind of things you have to throw, disbelief out the window for is the lightsabers, because at first I didn't know how to bloody wield a lightsaber. It's a button at the top. It's the same with blasters. I didn't know how to wield blasters because I was a kid and I was stupid. But once you know how to whip out your blaster or your lightsaber and you're throwing down, it feels great. But like I said, blasters, you can shoot people 100 times and they don't die, they just get KO'd. Also, with lightsabers, you don't chop people in half, you just kind of hit them. You know, lightsabers back in the day just hit people. It's just what they did. Also, there was a additional character who was a master of the Teras Kasi style. Chick with a robotic arm. Her name doesn't come immediately to mind. I'll pop it here in the edit. But she was, again, I felt kind of limp-wristed. Her main attack pattern was just hitting you with her arm. It wasn't very impressive.
Luke Skywalker versus Arden Lin. Round 1, fight! You lose.
I shall be triumphant.
But this is a game that I played a lot back in the day and was one of my first, again, kind of PS/ multiplayer experiences after Tekken that I really remember my friends coming around and playing with me. So if you're into that kind of genre of fighting games, this one might be a look if you've never played this game before. It's a slightly different feeling, and if you're a Star Wars fan, all the better. In terms of a game these days, it is slightly limited in the fact that there's no other functions apart from, you know, the fighting. There's no intros or prologues or outros or anything like that because it's Star Wars, so you kind of know what goes in and you know what comes out. So that's kind of disappointing as well, that there's nothing unique to the game. So I'd say it's worth a really solid 7 out of 10. Nothing amazing, nothing earth-shatteringly original or, you know, new or unique. But it's definitely worth checking out if you're into the fighting game genre and Star Wars and you've let it pass you by. So thank you very much for watching this episode of the Halcyon Blink. Please like, share, dislike, unsubscribe, do whatever you want to do. In the meantime, please check out some of the other channels below. I've been plugging them pretty hefty recently. And also, thank you to everybody who isn't PWT Heavyweight Champion of the World for being you. Without you, I couldn't be as amazing as I am wielding this belt. You know, this means everything to me. And also the show means everything to me, but not quite as much as the belt, because I am your PWT Heavyweight Champion of the World. Please like, share and subscribe. Please go check out some of these other channels that I've just referenced, so I shouldn't have to repeat myself. So just go do it, people. Just go do it. You'll feel better about yourself afterwards. Thank you very much for watching again. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of the Halcyon Blink.